And welcome to Cold Reads, episode 9. I am Laura Nicole of Resonant Audiobook Solutions, which presents this show. And today we are getting started with chapter 8, part 1 of Stonebriar Casefiles in the Cold Reads for August. I almost said October. That's just wishful thinking at this point. We are going a little bit early today, and that's partially because I've got to drive overnight, and I want to sleep a little bit, just a little bit. So thankfully, my guest was flexible and was able to join me early. So let me introduce my guest, Nobilis Reed.
Hello.
And Nobilis, for my viewers who may not be familiar with your work, tell them what you do.
I'm primarily a podcaster. I have 2 podcasts. One is Nobilis Erotica, which has been going for more than 10 years now, with mostly weekly, short stories and serials of erotic science fiction and fantasy. It's a paying market. We have run stories by people like Cecilia Tan and N.K. Jemisin, and that can be found at nobilis.libsyn.com. And I've got a brand new podcast called This Kaiju Life. That's written by Greg Larson, a really funny author friend of mine, and written and produced and voiced by myself. And that is a short 1 to 3 minute long audio diary of a perfectly ordinary IT guy who works in a lab where they study giant monsters.
Awesome. Yeah, I did not know about this project, but I am intrigued. It sounds like the audio version of the daily comic strip that you would get in the newspaper.
Yeah, something like that in audio form, and there's a little bit of like office absurdity in there, and there's a little bit of giant monster absurdity, and in general, it's just a piece of silliness that's easy for me to put together because I'm the only one voicing it, and Greg can just roll off the funny stuff like it's no problem at all. And so far it's worked out pretty well. This coming Sunday, our 10th episode goes live. So
fantastic. So your 10th episode will align almost with my 10th episode.
That's awesome. That's at kaiju.libsyn.com.
Awesome. Well, cool. So today we are going to be doing something a little bit different that we've done in the past episodes, where we're going to experiment a little bit with voicing a character that is not your gender or the gender of your vocal range. So I am going to voice Rixon Amberstone, which was previously played by August Grappin, but he was unavailable today. And then you, Nobilis, have signed up to voice 2 different characters. You are going to voice Eric, our very smooth elf. I am going to voice the angry person yelling at the people who are honking outside my window. It's live, people. And you're also going to be voicing Vervain Oakroot. Now, we've only briefly heard her voice before this point. Okay. So, Vervain is... think of a very grouchy, nosy church lady.
Okay. I can do that.
And you know, there is some backstory to Vervain, but I can't give away too much. But basically, Vervain blames Beatrix for most of the fairy problems. Mm-hmm. And she's a matron, so she's been scolding everybody, and I'm mostly giving this for the viewers' benefit because I know you've read the book. Because you're awesome. Nobilis has been one of my early followers from I think you were the originator of my mojito problems.
No.
You were at the table.
I was at the table, and you were actually the person I heard about mojitos from.
Ah.
So
Yes.
so don't put that one on me.
Okay. So I remember I have video photographic evidence of who was there. But anyway, Nobilis really liked my voice, and he's been following my work ever since and really encouraging me to continue doing what I do. So, you know, I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate you being here for the show today.
I live to serve.
All right, are we ready to get started?
I'm ready.
Okay. Let me go ahead and pull up the script for our lovely viewers. And here we go with Chapter 8. When we awoke, it was still chilly out. Eric took his shrinking charm off so that he could make some tea for us. He gave me an entire thimble of black tea. I knew I might have the jitters later, but it was warm and I needed to shake the sleep out of my veins. The goal for the day, among other things, was to go back to the Fairgrounds to see if Rickson had any ideas based on the new information we had collected. I also wanted to get some fresh clothes. Sadly, it would not be my comfortable jeans and jacket that I had become accustomed to in the city. But I had some winter woodland clothes back at my tree that I could probably still wear. After that, we needed to meet up with Turek at the Willow Well. I made sure I had several notebooks. The journey to my tree was uneventful. There was a silence between Eric and I, though it was amiable. Mostly, he would look at me, then look away. When I finally caught him at it, he was greeted with me sticking out my tongue at him and crossing my eyes. That made him laugh. Each time we made eye contact, the giggling ensued. It was the strangest feeling, like how it could have been before. I asked him, "Do you think we could have been like this? I mean, before we left the wood." He looked at the ground when he answered.
I think if we had, it wouldn't mean as much to me as it does now.
The sincerity caught me off guard. I needed to expect the unexpected from Eric, it seemed. I didn't like not knowing him. Certainly he had changed, as had I, but this was such a dramatic change in less than a decade. I had known him for well over 200 years. Has the human world taken that much of a toll on us? I asked. I could see my tree just over the next hill. He stopped and took me gently in his hand.
It has. But one of the things it has taught me most, is to appreciate how different we all are, and how much we needed each other, how much we still need to rely on each other. I couldn't have survived out in the human world if I didn't know you were out there too, facing similar, if not the same trials that I was.
He ran his thumb over my arm.
So no, I do not think we could have been like this before. We needed to become the people that we are now.
Oh, my Eric, you think too much. That made him smile.
Want me to help you?
He asked. I shooed him off. No, we don't have time for messing around. Having you alone in my tree would be too much of a distraction.
Oh, I'm a distraction now,
He quipped, feigning being hurt. I made him wait for my reply. Maybe later. After changing, we set off to find Rickson. However, we were detained. Halfway down the path that led to the center of the Fey village, a group waited that did not seem happy to see either of us.
So first you bring calamity down on our lives, and now you insult the situation further by bringing this long-eared rapscallion here to trample over our homes.
Vervain must have seen us when we stopped at my tree and gathered a crowd of fae to hinder us.
Madame?
Eric gave a most winning smile. It was met by a steely gaze.
Don't you madame me. Your elvish charms do not work on an old fae like me. I can see through your guise.
Then she turned her venom on me.
And you, Stonebriar!
I braced myself.
First you go and reverse the order of things, going and working with the other races like you were some high-born dignitary. The voice of reason indeed. Then you go and expose our world to the humans.
But I tried to interject.
Don't be rude. You'd think you'd have learned some respect from your dear foster mother, but I suppose with you being a wildling, your savage behavior cannot be helped.
She knew she was starting to chip away at my nerves.
Now, where was I?
Berating me for the collapse of our social structure? I muttered. She pursed her lips.
A lashing that you've well earned. And if you please, you encouraged other fae and the races of all magical creatures to join you. You left us and had others cut their roots along with you.
Not everyone that left abandoned the magic of nature that they have learned. Many are using those powers to help rebuild the world. They want to help make the Great Mother strong again. Trying to reason with the old fae was akin to getting oil and water to mix. Still, I made the attempt.
Well and good as that is, that leaves the old magic vulnerable.
Her tone had lowered, slight as it was. Then it picked up in fervor.
And without that protection, younglings have died!
Surely you can't think Beatrix is the cause of these murders. My mentor emerged from the crowd. Do you think she took the blade to the tulips? Or that she laid those poor babes on her own land for pleasure? He looked at me with the hint of a smile. My protege is many things, but murderer and actress she is not. He looked around at the crowd. Most of them had calmed down enough to let his words seep in. Go home, Vervain. The rest of you as well. We will find the culprit, and we will bring them to justice. But this cannot be done if you all get in the way. They all hesitated, waiting for Vervain to make the first move. She shone hot red and sharply turned and flew off to her home. Some of the gathered followed her, while the others, realizing that there was no blood to be had, dispersed to their various tasks. Impeccable timing as always, I said, bowing to Rickson. She's been muttering about how to make you look like a fool for years. It was just waiting for your return to use all of those points against you.
Very nice,
Eric said. Well, Moonrunner, I had no idea that you were back from the SMC as well. He flew up and shook hands with Eric's finger.
Oh, where are my manners?
Eric said, and once again shrank down to our proportionate size. Rickson smiled approvingly. Yes, that will make things much easier for us to talk. Yes, that will make it much easier for us to talk in private about what you have found. We started heading off in the direction of his shrub when he turned to me. Getting back into the old fashions, Beatrix? Well, it's better than staying in clothing that was 3 days old. We all laughed at that and made our way to Rickson's home. Around warming stones, we laid out my notes about the case so far. The design of the flowers was supposed to be a rune, not a constellation, I told the group, though there was something that this central elf was looking to correspond with.
Did Master Stargazer tell you that?
Eric asked. No, I hadn't asked him. What was wrong with me? I should have asked him when he brought it up. Rickson picked up on my frustration immediately and broke the thoughts of self-doubt. Well, now, let's see. The Hunter's Moon was the other night, and if I recall, the lunar eclipse has also occurred. There was definitely time for blood sacrifices. Eric and I both flinched, and the elf said,
That magic is forbidden. Nothing good comes of it.
I know that, Moonrunner, but the outer tribes may not. The central regions were only recently organized by those wild beings not 100 years before. I stood up and turned from them. I can't believe that these acts are just out of plain ignorance. There are too many coincidences. All wild fae left on the stoop of another wild fae who just happens to come back from the human world that day. Someone is trying to send me a message. Eric took a place behind me, wrapping his arms around me.
You don't know that. Is someone always out to get you?
I had no need to be coddled. I wrenched his arms off me and turned on him. When you remain at this height in a world that is so huge it threatens to suffocate you, everyone remains a threat. Everyone, whether they know it or not, is out to get you. I have been nearly sat on, stepped on, eaten by house pets, locked in drawers, thrown into garbage disposals, and someone even used the ultimate crime against fairies and said the words. Forgive me if I'm overly cautious. I've had too many near deaths and one real death. I take it all very seriously and will not have anyone mock me for trying to find the motive that all the clues lead to. My words flowed from me like blood from a wound. The stream harbored all of my fears and apprehensions. I hadn't meant to let them that far in, nor did I want to yell at them as if they were at fault. Breathing was difficult. Each breath was more painful than the last. Shallow breaths weren't enough to get the air I needed. Collapsing on my buckled knees. I was not in control. She's being cursed, Rickson shouted, looking at the stone he held around his neck. It glowed bright red. No, it glowed bright green. And that is why cold reads should never be your only read. So we both did a little gender swapping there, although I'm really used to these characters. So, so what do you think?
That was fun. I had to mute myself a couple times to cough after voicing Vervain there.
Yeah.
But old lady voices are kind of easy to do, so they don't really count to me as gender swappy that much. I mean, doing a young woman, that's much tougher.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll have you do one of the younger women later on.
I'd be happy to give it a shot.
But you also did some like rapid fire character change.
Yeah. That I would definitely had to concentrate on that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's sometimes when you're voicing an entire book, if you're not doing the character voices on a separate track, having those lines highlighted ahead of time is really important for you as the narrator, or for if you're sending it off to someone and you're the author. That's hugely helpful.
I understand the helpfulness of it, but I just finished narrating a novel with like 9 major characters who've got lines in it. It was Capricious by Julie Cox, and And they have among them 4 different accents.
Mm-hmm.
And there's several of them that have got the same accent, like the several characters are all West Texas accents. So I had to give each of them some other vocal difference between them, because I mean, this, you can do a straight read where you don't give anybody an accent. You just let the narration, the text of the narration say what the accent is. Or you can actually build each voice through it. Well, right to me to read it in my kind of generic East Coast accent. So I decided to do accents. But then I've got all these characters with West Texas accents, so I had to give each of them a different sound because I'm doing accents, right?
Right.
I didn't actually highlight any of the lines. I just went through very carefully. I pre-read through each chapter as I did it, and like rehearsed it once first before I went through and recorded that.
Yeah. And
so
if you're
I think,
familiar with the work, like doing a read through, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
And it all depends on how visual you are and how much you prepare before you get in the recording booth. Although I've found that, because I didn't used to highlight things, but knowing that I'm bringing other people in, it's helpful to have it color coded. So be like, these are your lines, read them when they come up. But I'm finding that it is also helping me switch gears, going from the very high pitched Beatrix to the very mentorish Amberstone. Excuse me, I'm clearly ready for bed.
Yes.
But yeah, so that was awesome. And
thank you.
And thank you so much for being on my show. One more time, just tell our readers where they can find more about you and your projects.
Okay. The Nobilis Erotica podcast is at nobilis.libsyn.com. That's Nobilis. And then This Kaiju Life is at kaiju.libsyn.com. Kaiju.
Fantastic. And we have those links in the show notes. If you like what you have seen, go ahead and click the subscribe button. I would love to have you keep following me. We've got 9 followers, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, considering that like other shows that I follow, like Critical Role. I love Critical Role. I'm not wearing my my Gilmore shirt, but I will be listening to Critical Role as I'm driving through the Twitch stream, and I will be wearing my Gilmore shirt then. But anyway, they've got like thousands of subscribers. But I'll be really happy when we get to 10, and I'll be like, woohoo! Especially because like 3 people I don't know. I don't know who they are. They're just like random people who've subscribed to my channel. So it's cool, and I'm really appreciative. If you have comments, please leave them in the comment section. I do check, and I will respond.
Brave woman.
I'm sorry?
Brave woman.
Well, if you harass me or my readers, I am very defensive, and I will delete you like that. I will delete you from the internet. No, I won't do that. But then what else? If you would like to participate in Cold Reads, starting in September, we're going to be taking submissions for short stories. So if you have a short story that is 4 pages or less, go ahead and send me an email at lauranicoleaudio@gmail.com. If you want to be a voice actor on this show, we've had a couple of people who've never done voice acting before be on this show, and they did amazing. You can do it too. I would love to have you. I'd love to meet new people. So go ahead and send me an email, lauranicoleaudio@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter with all of my geekiness at lnicoleaudio. And that's about it. Tomorrow night, we will be on at 8:30 again, ish. And we'll have more goodness throughout the rest of the month. Cold Reads is covered under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Derivatives, wait, where is my thing? Attribution, not commercial, no derivatives, 4.0 international license, which means that you can download it, you can share it, you can repost it. Just make sure you link back to me and don't edit it. Come on, guys. You don't want to edit my show. My show is awesome the way it is. And that is about it. Oh, yeah. And if you want to get spoilers and go ahead and buy Stonebriar Casefiles, the link is in the show notes. Thanks again to my guest, Nobilis. I look forward to posting again tomorrow. And y'all have a good night. Say good night, Nobilis.
Good night, Nobilis.
Bye.